One of the pieces of evidence that Geoffrey Ashe uses to support his theory that Riothamus was the origin of the King Arthur who went and conquered Europe is the fact that immediately prior to Arthur going across the Channel and conquering Gaul in the history of the Kings of Britain, there is mention of a pope called Pope Supplicius. According to Geoffrey Ashe, that is an excellent match with the Pope Simplicius, who was pope at the time of Riothamus's fight in Gaul. However, this piece of evidence used to support his theory doesn't work on two counts. Firstly, it doesn't work in the context of what we know about history and how that ties in with what Geoffrey of Monmouth actually said in his book. So the line in question which mentions this pope, it's just in one line. It says that a person called Welgan, who you and I know better as Gawain, Sir Gawain of the Knights of the Round Table, when he was 12 years old he went to the service of Pope Supplicius. So Geoffrey Ashe claims that Riothamus originated at least part of the Arthurian legend. I think he also acknowledges that there was probably a 6th century Arthur as well, but they were combined. However, even if that was the case, Welgan is very firmly linked to the 6th century. He was the son of Lot, as he's called in the history of the Kings of Britain, or Llew by the Welsh, son of Cynfarc. And Cynfarc had another son called Urien, and if you're watching this video about King Arthur, you probably already know of Urien of Reged, also known as Uriens of Gaul in the later romances. So Urien and his son Owain fought at the Battle of Arthurian, and that took place in the late 500s. It took place about 573, according to the current understanding of the Welsh annals, or 593, according to the short chronicle in the Red Book of Hengist. So they were late 6th century kings, sorry. So Urien was active. He fought in this battle in the last few decades somewhere in the last few decades of the 6th century. So his brother, Lot, couldn't possibly be a 5th century king, could he? He must be somewhere in the 6th century as well, along with his son Gawain, Welgan. So Welgan was very definitely, even if there was a large age gap between Lot and Urien, there's definitely no chance that Welgan was alive when Riothamus was. He seems to have been born around about the late 540s by the chronology. So it doesn't work in the context of the line itself. The Pope at the time of Welgan, being 12 years old, as the book says, was not Supplicius. That was many decades apart. So it doesn't work for that reason. Secondly, the evidence doesn't work in the context of Geoffrey Ashe's own theory, because there were in fact two invasions of Gaul. 2 times Arthur went to attack Gaul in the history of the Kings of Britain. First time is when he conquers Gaul, second time is when he goes to fight the Romans because they've sent a letter to him, which annoys him very much. So it's the second attack in Europe against the Romans that Geoffrey Ashe ties up with the Riothamus event. He thinks Riothamus going and fighting this large battle against Uruk, the Visigoths, is what originated the legends of King Arthur attacking the Romans and fighting the Romans at Siscia, or however you pronounce it. So if that's the case, then the earlier battle, which in the story takes place 14 or 15 years earlier, would be 14 or 15 years before 470, which is when Riothamus fought. So we're not looking for a pope. According to Geoffrey Ashe's theory, we're not looking for a pope in the 470 era. We're looking for a pope about 14 or 15 years prior to that. That would be what would match up with Pope Supplicius in the story. And the pope at that time was Leo, which obviously bears no relation to the name Supplicius. So even in the context of Geoffrey Ashe's own theory, if that Riothamus event really did lead to to Arthur's battle at Sicily against the Romans, then it still doesn't work. The Pope can have nothing to do with it because he's 14 or 15 years out of place, even within the context of the own theory. And that, in conjunction with the fact that it also doesn't work with the fact that it's tied in with Gawain, who lived much, much later, it simply cannot be used to support his theory about Riothamus.